Well, good morning, everyone, and my name is Kieran Swale, tourism specialist at Southern Regional College. You're very, very welcome to the fourth webinar in our summer series. And this morning we're going to be looking at developments in food, how food businesses are adapting to COVID-19. We have a really interesting lineup for you this morning. We have four speakers this morning. My colleagues, Emma, Brenda, they're food innovation specialists, and they're going to take you through a lot of new developments in food. Then we have Dean, who's a practitioner and a head chef and well known in the local industry. He's one of our part-time mentors. He's going to give you at the coal face what it's like to be surviving and give you some ideas of how businesses are turning around. And then we have Graham Farthing. Graham is a Senior Environmental Health Officer at Newrymore and Down Council. And Graham has kindly come along and is going to share some, I suppose, really what it's like at the moment and advice from his end of things. So this is supported by Connected. Connected are one of our main funders. The main funder for this particular series, and that's their sponsor department is the Department of the Economy. So, first of all, can I say, get some pens at the ready. There will be the presentation will be available for everybody attending this morning. You're going to hear some great examples this morning. I think it's going to start with Emma, and then Brenda, and then Dean and Graham. But it's going to be a nice logical flow to this, starting strategically, globally, nationally, regionally, and down to local examples. You're going to hear how some businesses survived, how they turn around in adversity. And this is a very, very optimistic webinar. We know it's tough at the moment, but there's a lot of optimism and hope out there, and we really are thinking that you're going to take some practical tips away with you today. Now, before we start, just to quickly remind you, this is webinar number 3, really, but we have another 4 coming up. Just very quickly, my colleague and I, Cahill, are going to be looking at creating virtual rooms for virtual experiences on the 31st of July. And then on the 7th of August, I'm going to be taking people through the first steps in setting up a podcast. Followed then on Friday, the 14th of August, my colleague Bran is going to be talking about cybersecurity for small businesses and what you need to know. And then the final webinar in our summer series is lean implementation for SMEs in all industries. And my colleague Jimmy is going to be taking that as well. So as you can see, we have a variety right across business support and innovation at SRC. But really, this is now enough from me. I'm going to be handing over now to my colleague Emma. And thank you very much, everyone, for coming along. And Emma, over to you.
Thanks very much, Kieran. So my name is Emma Lyttle. I am one of the food innovation specialists at SRC. My background is in new product development and technical management. Prior to starting at SRC, I had about 10 plus years of experience in industry, and I've developed and launched hundreds of products and ranges. I joined SRC about 3 years ago, and since then I've been working as a mentor, sort of helping food companies build their knowledge of food innovation and new product development.
Okay, hi, my name is Brenda Kelleghan. I'm also one of the food innovation technology specialists like Emma. I'm a new product I was a new product development manager out in the industry as well for maybe 15 years. So I've been 6 years now in the college as a food specialist, helping kind of small food businesses in MPD and technical nutritional projects.
Hi guys, my name's Dean Coppard. I'm the original head chef and owner of LaRue Bistro in Armagh. I'm currently the executive chef for the Bacchus Group. We have 8 pubs in Belfast. I oversee all the food operations within our business, and I have recently been brought on board as an industry mentor for SRC. So I think without further ado, we'll get going here.
Perfect. So I'm just going to run through the agenda. So we're going to be looking mainly at the food trends that have emerged during COVID. We'll start off with global trends and then focus them more down to a national and local level. Then Dean's going to give the restaurant point of view, and we're just going to sum up by looking at some of the opportunities that COVID has presented, how to make your products retail ready, and then Graham is going to give a discussion from the environmental health point of view.
Emma, just before you go, if I could just remind everyone, I should have said about Q&As. If anyone would like to answer a question, if they pop them in the Q&A box, and that is along the toolbar. It's the 5th icon along in the toolbar. Sorry about that, but just if you have any questions, just pop them into the conversation box. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Karen. So 2020 has definitely been a historical year. There's been unimaginable change and very quick change in the food and drink industry. I'm just going to touch on a few of the global trends, and then we can focus them in a bit more detail down at a national and local level. So globally, obviously, hygiene has become a major issue for all food manufacturers. Social distancing, new cleaning standards have been introduced. And as I said before, Graham will be able to give more information on this. Another global trend that has emerged is next generation restaurants. So restaurants had to think smartly and swiftly and diversify to help their income streams. Some of them have started doing takeaways, frozen ready meals, prep boxes, and even getting their products into the retail market. Again, on a global level, we've even seen upscale vending machines where you can get gourmet meals from vending machines, and drive-throughs are quite common now too. Deliveries, a lot of people are doing that too, and online ordering is becoming a thing of the norm. In the past, we would have been saying that the big weekly shop had died, but that's definitely on the rise again as people don't want to go out too many times during the week to get their food. Online platforms and apps that help you plan recipes and do your grocery shopping, there's been a rise of them as well. I'd just like to finish off on the global ones by saying health and well-being. Gut health and its links to immunity, people are definitely interested in that. So that would be your pre and pro and postbiotics along with fiber. Things that are on people's hit list that they want in their healthy food also would be vitamins D, C, E and K. And I think everybody would admit to this that at the start of lockdown, we definitely all maybe put on a wee bit of weight, but keeping our body weight under control and its link to immunity is another thing that people are interested in globally and obviously locally. So just more on a local and national level, produce boxes. So there's many of examples, the fruit and veg boxes, fish boxes, meat boxes, cheese boxes, and even pantry boxes. A local person, and I actually get my fruit and veg from him, is Whitecroft Food up in Kilkeel. At the start of the pandemic, he was only doing 50 boxes a week. I think he's up to 500 plus. The great thing about him as well, he's partnered up with some other local producers up in the Kilkeel area so they can share delivery costs. They can order off each other's platforms and websites. So he's also partnered up with Grabia, who do sauce or chutneys and jams and things, and also More and Fish Box. More and Fish Box have been doing fantastically well. They've launched a beautiful new website. And it's made ordering very easy, and it's just the visuals on it are fantastic, and they're able to deliver throughout the whole of Ireland. So that's just produce boxes. You'll also notice your local butchers. They've definitely got a lot busier with people staying away from the likes of Tesco's, and they're doing meat kits or meat boxes, and are posting out to people in the local area. So a couple of the local ones that I've been working with, again, they're definitely an awful lot busier. So it depends on your business. Some people have increased trade and some people have decreased trade, but that's some of the stories that are out there for produce boxes. Bakery and COVID is definitely a big trend. I think everybody had an awful lot more time and wanted to take up baking at home. I'm sure your social media feeds are filled with people making banana bread and sourdough. So some of the local bakeries have definitely tapped into this. They are selling bakery kits where you get everything in a box to make a product, and it's all weighed. And you don't need to buy anything else, and the instructions are there, so it's nice and simple. Cookies and cakes, you're able to get those delivered to your door. As I mentioned before, there's been a rise in people being interested in specialist foods, so your sourdough kits, where you can buy everything from your starter and your proven boxes and things like that there. Also, the Irish bread boxes as well can be quite popular. Keeping the kids busy with the kids off school is key for an awful lot of parents. So bakery kits aimed specifically at children, we've seen a rise in those. You can see from the pictures, it might not even just be baking from scratch. They might just get the wee biscuit and then get the icing and sprinkles and be able to decorate them themselves. Cook along or bake along masterclasses. I've seen a sort of a rise in them as well, with a lot of chefs and bakers being at home. They're doing their own videos. I followed a couple. So it was a previous SRC student who works for James Street South, and he did a bake along to make their signature black Irish stout bread. And then I've made it and obviously made a few extra loaves and gives to relatives, and it just raises promotion, or it promotes his restaurant and things like that there. So it's just keeping the promotion in mind as well. So it's a useful thing to do.
Okay, thanks, Emma. I'm just going to talk briefly about meal kits. So it's the first obvious step for some food manufacturers and restaurants to take. They've got the supply chain, the facilities, and it is a great idea to keep the business going. It works for some and doesn't maybe work for others, but whether it's a complex fine dining dinner date or an artisan burger from a local joint, there's a halfway house between cooking from scratch and a ready meal. And I think like we've all been kind of cooking a bit more at home, so it kind of would give a break maybe from cooking at the weekend. So there was definitely a good market for it. Globally, you can see here Shack Burger kits. So Shack Burger in America, a big brand, they were making the Shack Burger kits that you could kind of get the same experience at home. Taco Bell, a huge brand in America, obviously, and they created a Taco Bell dinner kit again to get that kind of experience at home with the Taco Bell sauce and seasoning. So definitely this has been a huge growth area that we've all seen during lockdown. The other kind of meal companies like HelloFresh and Gusto, they're the meal subscriptions that be delivered to your house. So it was a great, they did really well during this here. So they were definitely on the rise as well. Another area that I think is kind of key going forward and has been recently is picnics. And picnic kits are nothing new, but what is new is the range and diversity of the places offering them. So during lockdown, restaurants and pubs were now offering their own picnic kits. The demand for outdoor living and dining has increased, and please God, with a bit more sun, maybe that'll keep going. So there's definitely an opportunity here for local ingredients, local distillers, kind of cheese, bread, crackers, local butter, charcuteries, chutneys, relishes. There's definitely an area here where a growth area, and hopefully we'll get the weather to kind of keep that going. Obviously staycation is a huge thing. There's not as many people going away abroad this year, so staycation, if we can get our money, put it into our local suppliers and kind of have picnics at home, that would be great. The other area is drinks. So more people are having a wee drink at home. Alcohol sales have actually went up by 20% in March, just at the start of lockdown. So cocktail bars who have been struggling are finding new ways of surviving. So cue the boom in cocktail delivery and takeaway service. So there's opportunities here. We've seen like our strawberry daiquiris in a bottle being delivered to the house. There's definitely a drink subscription area is an interesting area. You can order your gin and tonic, and on a monthly basis or whatever. I think this would be a great area for more local distilleries. Not sure how this will go down, with the NI law, but it's certainly an area that needs to be looked at and promote our local kind of distilleries drinks. I've known a few people that are actually making bars out the back garden, so this is kind of like definitely an area that more kind of, instead of going to the pub in some cases, drinks at home, kind of having a few drinks at home, cocktails. Just one company actually over in England, in Portsmouth, they were a street food company, and they've just kind of straight away called their place Noshbox delivery. They've kind of changed their strategy immediately in lockdown. So going from like a street food kind of cafe to a Noshbox delivery, straight away they were offering I think a key thing here is the consumer's changing week by week. So it's just offering in boxes to kind of do the demand. It could be the breakfast for 4, the barbecue boxes in the nice weather, the picnic boxes in the nice weather, or if it's not so nice weather, they're offering the movie box for 4, where it's like chicken wings and mac and cheese and popcorn. So this is, very much kind of a moving feast, depending on weather and depending on the consumer. So kind of it's helped businesses for them. And that was just an example. Mentioned here about the picnic boxes. So this has been very, very popular. It's like been a sellout for them. Any weekend when there's a bit of weather about. So pricey enough, £30 feeds 4, but it's kind of gourmet food now. Due to popular demand, they've been adding that box into the website, and it's available for delivery every weekend. And as I mentioned, barbecue boxes. So it's just a good example of somebody that's really kind of changed their strategy straight away. We've seen these dine at home, the restaurants. A perfect example here is Rick Stein. Obviously, nobody's going to restaurants at the time, so they're offering like a Steins at home. So it's the home menu boxes. So you were really basically getting a menu box delivered of whatever you wanted to choose, picked with some wine if need be. And then, this is a great experience to have that real kind of luxury meal at home. So it was kind of similar to 6 by Nico. Nico at home are doing it in Belfast as well. So and they were selling it as well. So people still want that bit of restaurant quality at home. And this, even though restaurants are back opening, this is probably still another area that probably will stay as well.
So I'm just going to discuss some of the local food innovators. One was Desi, who ran Pizza Mami. He was a professionally trained chef, but he'd set up his own artisan sourdough pizza company selling at markets and events. Obviously, whenever this kicked in, all the markets got cancelled. I'd already been working with him in March anyway, and we were trying to get some of his products retail ready, but this obviously pushed it on an awful lot. So we got everything packaged up and labels and all that sorted. And you know what, he's done very well. He's got into an awful lot of local spars and centres and butchers and delis. And then just another wee string that sort of emerged in the past week. He started to sell into local pubs and stuff so that they're able to offer food along with their drinks so that they can open. So Umami Pizzas have actually done quite well out of this. I'd say his revenue's probably actually up. Just another local food supplier would be Deli Lights. They're just up in Warren Point, about 300 staff, so they're quite big, and they would have been mostly a sandwich manufacturer for the likes of Costa. So obviously all the cafes were closed and they had to try and keep their 300 staff busy. So they started to do home deliveries. So they did home deliveries of their bakery, they did home deliveries of their sandwiches. They had a vegan range that they started, and they really did push that as well, especially with the health aspect and people being worried about their health during COVID. And they were able to do home deliveries because they had a fleet of vans where they've been driving stuff around Costas all over the country. So I think that's worked quite well for them and allowed them to keep a lot of their staff on during this time.
Okay, and then I'll just further add to that. Anybody around the Newry and Greater Newry area will have seen La Dolce Vita. Their restaurants and cafes were closed. They launched after a few weeks of lockdown. They kind of realised, there's an opportunity here, so they launched their pizza kits, which is the 2 balls of dough with their famous sauce and their cheese. So this here really took off and has been a brilliant asset to them during lockdown, and it's something that will continue to go even with the restaurants and cafes open. So that kind of pizza kit at home. There was a video and all showing you how to do it. Fantastic bit of innovation there. Through this as well, we've been working with them on sauce retail. So their famous sauces are actually now in retail packaging and in local shops. So we've been kind of helping them with innovation voucher and doing some shelf life tests with them. So this has all been happening, and it's probably something that they wanted to do, but this lockdown's just kind of pushed them on to do this, and it's working out well for them. Other examples are just like Arper Funkel and Finnegan and Son in the town. They're doing providing their products at usually at the weekends. Like Finnegan linked up with Cologne Distillery, so there's great link ups here with local suppliers, and it's a great way to promote their brand and have that experience. As I say, we're all nearly sick of cooking at times, so it's just a nice experience. Mentioned Home by Nico, which is going really well as well, which is the 6 by Nico restaurant in Belfast.
So I'm just going to touch on some of the things that you need to do if you want to make your product retail ready and you've never sold into that area before. So obviously you would have to get your product, once you have the recipe and you're happy with all that, you'll need to get packaging and make sure it's tamper resistant and make sure, see how it interacts with your product, etc. Then you'll need to think about your labeling. So that'll be things like your ingredient deck, your nutritional, your best before date, the name of your product, just things like that there. Allergens obviously are extremely important. We've seen an awful lot of recalls by the Food Standards Agency and things like that. So it's important that you understand allergens and what you have to do there. Costings, obviously there's no point putting something out there if you're not making any money or if you're losing money. So just figuring out how much it costs to make in terms of ingredient, labour, rent and premises, getting distribution. If you are going to be selling it on to a retailer, what's an acceptable margin for them and what's an acceptable margin for you. The shelf life of the product, just determining what it is and maybe try and thinking of different ways that you can maybe extend it slightly to help with distribution and things like that there. Obviously distribution is important. Are you going to distribute it yourself? Do you have vans? Could you link up with somebody else who would be going to similar places? I've seen a couple of clients do that. Or are you going to use an external distribution company? We've mentioned this a couple of times already, but e-commerce and getting your stuff online and selling it online is extremely important. That's where people are shopping at the minute. We actually have e-commerce specialist, Darren, who works with us in business support. So he's able to help and advise on that. I think he actually did a webinar last week or the week before on it. So he's available for information on that.
Okay, so just kind of the focus, on the key areas that we see for innovation. First of all, it's local. I talked about it earlier, but support local. The suppliers need, the producers, everybody needs to support local where possible because we want these businesses to survive. We have amazing produce here in Northern Ireland, so it's never been more important to keep these businesses afloat. And thankfully, with some of their delivery and the way they're doing innovation, it's making it easier for us to eat local. The immune system we've touched on. Immune and gut system is definitely a trend going forward because people with the virus looming and just worried and coming into the winter and stuff, the immune system has never been more important. So it's making products that maybe have good ingredients in it to help the immune system. Shelf stable here. 37% of consumers have bought kind of long life food and drink. This has went up, obviously during lockdown, but there's a real waste and want not mentality at the moment. So there's definitely been less waste and people are a little bit apprehensive maybe of another wave. So there's a bit more like store cupboard and kind of shelf stable ingredients being bought as well. Luxury still, when lockdown happened, we all were at home and we were kind of baking and making nice food, and luxury is still a key area. It kind of is on the other side of the health, but luxury is people were wanting a bit of a treat. They weren't getting to the restaurants and stuff, so they were having a bit more of a treat. The behaviour change ahead, this is really important. Just the consumer is ever changing. It's nearly week by week, month by month. We don't know how it's going to go, but you really have to watch your consumer and the behaviour. What we thought we knew about NPD food and drink trends is no longer true. So you might just have to reinvent your NPD for the new normal. So this is just key. It's kind of a moving feast of a consumer at the moment. And as Emma mentioned, these apps like Kangaroo, people are using kind of apps to help sell their product online. So it's definitely a key area going forward. So talking about the luxury, we're all having that bit of luxury, but now the other flip end is obviously the health. So it is the biggest macro trend of the last decade, and it's currently one of the biggest concerns. So it hasn't went away. 57% of UK consumers have been concerned about their health since the COVID lockdown, and over 50% of consumers say they're looking for healthy products. 71% of consumers say living a healthy life is a priority for them post-coronavirus. So, we've after the lockdown, I think post-coronavirus, we're kind of out there, and it definitely will be a health area for innovation.
Okay, guys. So I'm here to talk about the industry's perspective on things. This is all about hospitality awakening. So almost 14 weeks ago now, the government ordered a shutdown of the hospitality industry. Now, this came with a big blow to the industry because it's not just restaurants that were affected. The hospitality industry alone is one of the biggest employers across Northern Ireland. And I think it could have crippled a business, but today's the day. Today's the day we get to reopen. I know I'm sitting here with a very calm sort of look on my face. Quite frankly, I'm sitting with a knife edge going, I need to go. So today we open 8 pubs in Belfast, and it has taken a lot of work to get there. But yes, today's the day. Now, when an industry like ours gets shut down, most industries or most businesses, it would have been a big, massive blow, as I said. But in true resilient style, the hospitality industry has sort of risen to this adversity. And what's happened is you're finding a lot of places now are really sort of trying to diversify. So it's not just restaurants that are doing cook at home sort of demos or doing sort of a meal box. What's happened is it's the supply chain as well. Now that supply chain, for example, I'm going to use Burren's Balsamic. They would have supplied restaurants and delis and places like that. They had to come up with something very quickly. So what they did is they realized that there was a market for that cook at home, the budding chef who wanted to, you know, cook what they would get in a restaurant. So what they created was a letterbox larder. That was a home delivery. It came to your doorstep, and it gave people a real opportunity to use very good quality products at home. In saying that, you had a situation where because so many people were cooking at home, you know, the likes of self-raising flour, it almost became a black market ingredient. You just couldn't get it for love nor money. You go to a supermarket, a massive supermarket, and they didn't have flour. So with that, it affected the supply chain. So people had to mill more flour, and it went on and on. But listen, we're through it now. As I said, today is the reopening date. And I think, you know, you have people like Graham and his team who have had to write policies and procedures for restaurants and venues to be able to adhere correctly to get open again. Now, every business and every venue is going to be different. So what's had to happen is each individual business has had to write a risk assessment. They have had to tailor the policies and procedures that have been put in place by local government according to their business. Because of that, the main issue, and I think, you know, Graham will touch on this, is the 1 meter distance, 1 meter social distancing. This, for example, I was listening to the news this morning, and there's a pub that had 100 people. At 2 meters, it would have meant it could have catered to 40, but at 1 meter, it can cater to 70. Now, that's not at full capacity by any stretch of the imagination. My flagship pub, we hold 280 people. We have now got 125 capacity seated. You will not be able to go to the bar and get a drink over the bar. It will be all table service. So all of these policies and procedures that are brought into place, we have had to not only adhere to them, but we've had to restructure our business and our brand accordingly. Now, it's going to take a bit to get this back, but I believe we can do it. I believe that, you know, with the likes of our hospitality industry, we do have innovators, and we do have people that sort of, you know, can take this situation of adversity and really run with it. Now, the recovery, it's going to be a long and slow process, but I do believe we can do it. Northern Ireland set ourselves out as being a tourism destination. Now, that tourism destination, now that market has dried up. So what we need to look at doing is sort of rebuilding ourselves. How we're going to do that is by providing customer confidence. It is up to the industry to get that customer confidence back. To do that, we need to make sure that the hygiene measures are in place. We need to make sure that, you know, the customer can see that we have our PPE. The customer can see that we are taking every step that we possibly can to ensure their safety. And not only their safety, but the safety of my staff is very important too. That's one thing that I have been right the way through this. You know, you can imagine 14 weeks of lockdown. I have chefs that I call once a week to make sure that their mental health is sort of good. You know, these are the things that we have to do within our industry to make sure that we come out of it. The recovery time, it's going to be long, it's going to be slow, but we can do it. We can do it. And you've seen the likes of what Emma and Brenda have said, and the different sort of, you know, styles that businesses have done, and the different sort of, you know, web shops they've added to their business. Now, this is going to provide opportunity long term, because yes, we're going to open today, but there also might be an opportunity for a business that has diversified and has added something like a takeaway style to continue to do that, to prop up our revenue in terms of losing that footfall and the tables. So it's a great opportunity, and I think it will be a success. Graham, I think that's all I've got to say. Is there anything, or Kieran, do you want to come back?
Yeah, well,
Yep.
We were just going to touch on, you know, and just kind of summarize some of them opportunities before we go to Graham here. So, you know, we mentioned about, like, you know, pubs have to serve food now. So, you know, is there an opportunity to supply in so for some food manufacturers to maybe supply in some bars that maybe didn't have food before? You know, it's something for discussion. Subscription boxes, you know, we talked about that earlier. The drinks, you know, maybe picnic, I don't know, subscription boxes. Safe packaged food, I think we're going to see something here going forward. Obviously, loose food's kind of not going to be sitting around so much, so it's maybe like individual packaged food is another opportunity. We talked about the immunity and gut health, which is definitely key going forward. Luxury items still going to be there. Everybody wants that luxury, and on the flip of that is the health food. So that's just some of the opportunities we have looked at. And now, if Graham wants to add anything to that.
Thanks very much, and thanks for asking us to come along today. I just wanted to highlight a few things of what we've been doing in the background. So we've managed to stay open, fully operational since the pandemic started, with all our offices working from home, keeping up to date on changes in legislation. Despite what a lot of people might think is local authorities do not get a heads up on changes to legislation and guidance, we get it at exactly the same time as the industry and members of the public. So it's a case of trying to run with it, make sure we give the advice to our customers, which are industry and members of the public, and do the best we can to keep everyone safe. What I would say to the industry, the food industry, is just come and talk to us. We have access to advice and guidance. We can help and make sure that you are, you know, on the right side of the legislation, and that is bound to be good for your business, can be good for your customers, and it builds a good working relationship. We have had a vast increase in the amount of service requests that we've received since, especially in the last couple of months. So they are from members of the public concerned with premises, maybe to do with social distancing, and then it's also from businesses trying to ask how we can manage this and the best way to get the most out of their business in these challenging times. So yeah, the message is we're here, we're available for advice and questions, and come and talk to us.
Great. Okay. I'm coming back to me now. Thanks very much, Graham. Thanks for that. Well, just before we move to, I can see a couple of questions Aisling there has for us in the Q&A box. That's been fantastic. I mean, what we heard there, then starting with Emma, I love that Wycroft example. Sharing the delivery costs, when you said about that really got me thinking. That's quite novel, particularly in Northern Ireland, where businesses collaborate on university. And the bakery kits and the sourdough kits, I mean, is that quite difficult for producers to do, Emma? The bakery kits and the sourdough kits.
Yeah, there's a wee bit of work to it, so that they would have to decide what's going to go into it, cost up, how much it costs them to make it, figure out what sort of a profit they want on it, see how they're going to distribute it, and then there's a couple of wee technical things that have to do. So allergens would be the main one that people would be most concerned about. So just getting that right as well. But they would have all the tools to do that, and if they think it's going to be worthwhile, definitely I would encourage them to try and get something out there.
So it's a relatively easy, I guess what I'm saying, the way that we all have been able to move in this COVID-19 pandemic, the way we've been able to work, there is a transition, and that process, it's doable for businesses. I love the ideas there about the cook-along masterclasses, and maybe we could share, you mentioned about the lad with students.
Yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, I loved that. I really did, and I could think. I know way back you and I were talking about examples of how I think it was pairing of whiskies, if I'm right. You showed me about 3 months ago an example of where you can actually set up a live demonstration, and I have an idea of that with a local maybe cider producer or a local craft beer producer, where you could have, you send them out the box and then you have a live demo of pairing of what goes what. So I love that. And Brenda, your kits, your when you talked about the Shack burgers and the Taco Bells, and then these picnic kits, and I really tuned into that, Brenda, because the staycation opportunities, I think you've really nailed that. That's so important. And maybe to bring you up from my angle, where I've been finding in my businesses, in the last 2 days, I've been in contact with 2 self-catering properties in the Mourns, and then another one in the Ring of Gullion, Bluebell Lane Lamping. They're actually nearly booked out. So isn't that fantastic? You know, so there's the opportunity for all the ones that you've cited, for local producers to actually being able to service these self-catering outlets, which are in high demand. And I'm sure, I know on a personal level, it's been very difficult to book holidays in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland at the moment because of supply and demand. So I like the way, Brenda, you've been able to talk about that staycation opportunity. Brenda, you came out with some crackers there. Cue the boom, boom, the cocktail delivery. I love the way you put that, because it really hit home with me of that contrast between in adversity, yet people still need that wee bit of luxury. And your examples of the Nosh box and the Rick Stein, and then closer to home, the 6 by Nico. And then Emma, you were coming in by the pizza your mommy, and that's a fantastic local example. And I liked your slide where you had in on the allergens. I like that, because that was probably an answer to one of our questions. Being able to say, well, listen, this is really on a practical level what you need to think about. And then Brenda, about supporting local and waste and want not mentality and the shelf stable ingredients. Brenda, you put in a really important point there about behaviour change ahead, and I see that's one of the listed to one of the questions there. And then I suppose, Dean, this is the classic red letter day. This is it today, and I know Sam and Carrie Duff of 2 of my local hotels in the area are opening today, and I was out for a cycle last night, and I saw all their preparations, and I saw them doing dry runs. And I know from a few conversations with 2 local hoteliers that they are anxious about today, truth be told. And I suppose there is a degree of uncertainty. I loved your example of the letterbox larder. Am I right? Did you say, is that Burren Balsamics?
Yes, that's Burren Balsamic, and they're friends of mine, and I've done some demonstrations with their products, and I think, yeah, it's a great way. But you know what? All these businesses are rising to this adversity, so yeah, I can only praise our industries for just how they've taken this and ran with it, Karen.
Yeah, I mean, I think you've made you've been honest in there in your summation there, and citing the fact that the recovery is going to be long and slow, and we are dealing with a wee bit of the unknown. And again, there's a question in relation to that, and I think, you know, you were talking about tourism in Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland. The staycation, certainly from a Tourism Ireland level and from a Tourism NI, is very much focused on local, and we are already talking to a local campsite owner in the Mourns yesterday. And you know, they're flat out, like they're around cramping. They're flat out. You know, so if this doesn't reawaken us and get us really thinking, and I know I'm going up to Port Stewart at the end, towards the end of the month, and I know it was quite difficult in getting a property there. So Graham, thank you very much for your input at the end. Graham, I'm presuming that everything is available there on your website.
Yeah, there certainly is. There's advice on our website, but advice changes that often. It's quite hard to keep it up to date. So any point of contact, I'd advise any specific questions into our generic email address, ehealth@nmandd.org. And that'll be, we triage the queries and it gets sent to the right environmental health officer, and then someone will get back to you within a day or two.
And is there an opportunity to have a online conversation face-to-face like we're doing using online technology, video conference? Is there an opportunity to do that?
There certainly is. All the senior officers have laptops issued. The other officers are starting to come back to the offices now, and we are actually starting our inspection program again within the next couple of weeks. So officers will be out and about and available to give advice. So we've changed our risk assessments, and we've managed it that we can now go out and visit premises again. So we can give on-site advice as well.
Okay, if it's okay with the four of you, I have a couple of questions coming in here. I don't know who's going to take this one because it can apply to all of you, but I'm going to, for a pub or restaurant or cafe, how do you set up a takeaway or delivery service? Is this hard to do?
I might start with this one.
Dean, go ahead.
I'm going to be honest with you. We looked at it and it didn't work for us here. None of our venues in Belfast City Centre would it have been financially viable. So for us, it was a chance to give the place a good coat of paint and that sort of thing. It's not difficult if you have the market. Now, I might throw this over to Brenda in terms of how they would go about setting up that in terms of correct policies and procedures. But if you have a market, then you've got to look at whether it's going to be financially viable, Kieran. You know, that's the big thing. It really is. Do you have the market for it? Are people asking for it? Or are you dipping your toe into the water just for the sake of it?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. That's an honest answer. Go ahead, Brenda.
Maybe just to add to that, I mean, I think everything kind of just stopped. People got a bit of a breath, and then some people did look into this. Now, as Dean says, it works for some, it doesn't work for others. Maybe for some of the smaller ones, it's actually more manageable. I'm working with a cafe actually that has got time in the evenings to maybe do the takeaway options. So they've been kind of, you know, they've got the supply chain there, so it is a good way of getting product out. They have been offering the takeaway option just to kind of keep things going and keep some staff busy. And again, this is something that will continue on along with the cafe, along with the restaurant, and then just an added kind of takeaway meal. So hopefully, because like restaurants and cafes are not going to be back at full capacity yet, so there is still some capacity there to keep making and producing food, maybe be it for takeaways or home deliveries. You know, it depends on the business. Maybe a small setting can easier do that, you know.
Okay. Well, thank you for that. So I kind of like a broader change, Brenda. I think this is in relation to one of your points, but it's a broader, and I might jump in here, and Graham for that matter. It's kind of, I suppose, through the looking glass, if you like, and this is quite difficult, and you have tried to answer this, but read the behavior change ahead, and I take by this question that things are shifting, never much week by week, but day by day. But do you have any idea of what's going to happen in Northern Ireland in the next 12 months? Now, you have alluded to this in the conversation, but, you know, in the short term, or is there, looking across the world and what's been happening in other countries, you know, have you any in the looking glass? Could you say, I think this might happen? You know, scenario planning. I think this could happen. It may not, or it could happen. Any idea? Even just the wild ideas.
I think it's hard to predict. It depends what happens in relation to COVID in the next 12 months. Fingers crossed there's no second wave, and we continue on this decline of it, and hopefully elimination in the future. But it definitely has changed things for the food industry. I think people are cautious about maybe rushing back out to restaurants, but if nothing happens in the coming weeks and months, hopefully people's confidence will start to grow and they'll be happy to mix and socialise again, and the pub and restaurant industry can start on an upward climb again to recovery. But all the things that we've spoke about now in terms of innovation, I think they'll remain as well because people have got used to them. So maybe a restaurant will not only have one income stream of table service, but will have a couple of different income streams. And I think maybe some of those are here to stay.
Yeah. Okay.
And if I just add to that, like veganism was an area of growth this year, and it's still an area of growth even through the pandemic. So I know we didn't talk about that much, but it's still an area of growth. So there's still going to be growth areas. I think the systems we have now in place and the thinking that we have around the kind of food industry, they're here now. So we'll be better equipped if something does come back to us to kind of really go with it. There was a panic at the start. Everybody just shut down. What do we do? We've kind of now got a few systems in place that we can maybe try and deal with it better ongoing.
Yeah,
but it's a moving feast. It's a moving feast.
Yeah, and I appreciate that the question is kind of broad, and thank you, you've answered that quite well. And I suppose coming to that, I certainly on my own observations by the market gardens, by where I live, the carried off the plots. Everybody's out in the market gardens everybody's chopping up their back gardens and growing their own plants and plant food. As you talk about veganism, there's been real growth in that. And yet I know from one of my clients in a food tours, Tracy's Farmhouse Kitchen, like she's had a real surge in demand for when she's able to open, which is now. And again, hers is like baking soda breads, but it's her kits that she's had the demand for, her equipment, as you've rightly identified. And I just think of everything that you guys have identified today. I think, and I like both of your point that Dean made and that Emma made there about propping up the revenue, and also about additional income. Brenda or Emma, you said there additional income stream. I think this is going to be so important. If there's any of the four of you would like to come in before we wrap up, and I'll be able to be handing them. Yeah, go ahead.
If I could just come in on that point to do with going forward, I think a key point is if businesses, if they demonstrate good social distancing and they're given the image that everything is under control, good social distancing, mitigation measures, then your customers will see that. They'll be confident going forward, and they'll spread the word that this is a place that really has the virus sort of under control and the protection measures in place. So that's really good for customer confidence going forward, and the mitigation measures are vital. So that is a good way that businesses are in control of demonstrating this. Any business that is opening today that looks around their premises and it looks the same as what it did before the 16th of March is probably doing something wrong. So and customers will expect to see a difference. So that's a way of trying to control things going forward.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Graham. Sarah, I'm getting ready for you to tell our audience or listeners today, tell them about the funding opportunities that are coming up, and thanks to all the team so far, and Aislinn's been in the background feeding the questions. Before I hand over to Sarah, just to remind you then that today's, if I'm right, Sarah, you can correct me and Aisling can, it's going to be loaded up to the Business Support and Innovation YouTube channel, where you will see last week's seminar as well. So for anyone that wants to see this on a video format, it will be there. Sarah, I'm going to hand over to you.
Thank you. Thank you to Brenda, Emma, Dean and Graham for that presentation. There was so much information in there that I'm sure everybody will take away. I just wanted to jump in quickly just to talk about the support that SRC have available for businesses. There's a lot out there, and there's a lot of innovation opportunities available for businesses. The Skills Focus Programme is a training programme, and it's funded by the Department of the Economy to provide non-mandatory training, and has recently been extended from 75% funded to fully funded in response to the COVID-19. It's a great opportunity to help get the additional training that you want for your staff and to move the business forward. The Innovate program offers 30 to 60 hours of mentoring or upskilling on a one-to-one basis through virtual, on-site or at college premises for an innovative product, process or service. There's innovation vouchers. They're a way to avail of R&D opportunities for your business and resources for innovative solutions for business issues. Although it is important to realise that there's a VAT element to this one, so just to be mindful of that one going forward. It's funded by Invest NI and Enterprise Ireland have a similar programme. There's a fusion programme and the knowledge transfer programme. There are similar schemes to offer high calibre graduates into your business, partially funded through Intertrade Ireland or Innovate UK. And these the graduates are offered mentor support through the college. So as you can see through the college, there is a wide variety of support available. Feel free to contact us at betterbusiness@src.ac.uk and we can talk through what your specific requirements are. As Kieran mentioned at the top of the webinar, we are holding further webinars. So our next webinar is on the 31st of July and it's called Creating Virtual Rooms for Virtual Experiences. And it's at the same time as 9:30 a.m. And finally, this afternoon, we'll be sending out evaluations for this webinar. If you could please complete and return them, would be very grateful of all your feedback so we know where to go moving forward. So thank you to everybody for your input today. It really has been great to hear from Dean, Emma, Graham and Brenda, and with Kieran's help. Thank you very much. And obviously Aisling with the fielding the questions there in the background. Thank you to everybody who threw questions, and if you have any more, please contact us at our email address. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.